All right, good afternoon. I'm going to call the Commission on Sustainability order. And the first item we would have would be a roll call of members. And I see Lauren, present. Jeff, present. Tucker,
Here.
Zach,
Present.
and we're expecting Fonda to be here also.
Devin is not going to be here today.
Yes, and Devin will not be here, and Ty will not be here. So first thing was, you don't have a paper copy of it. You've all seen the email of the minutes from the last meeting. We had a little coordination issue, so I'd ask for approval of the minutes or discussion of the minutes. Jeff's making the motion to approve the minutes from last week, or last month. A second from anyone?
Second.
Thank you, Zach. So the minutes from last week are approved. We're going to go first to some old business, I think, or kind of old and new. Tucker, I had solar grants on there.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So we did meet with Ty today, actually, to discuss that a little bit more at length. Everything's moving along. We are going to have to put it out for an RFQ, just because of the amount of money and it's through federal funding. We're hoping to start working on that here shortly and probably have those advertised the first week of June there. And then from there, it would be a month until we select whatever company will be doing it. And then we were looking at other funding opportunities to kind of go in line with this. One of the ones we were looking at was community change grant, potentially to help fund some buses, potentially for the electric charging station. And then, yeah, at this point, we're just trying to get all the information together and waiting to hear back on the funding coming to the state government that will then be doled out to us. So I'll keep you guys in the loop as we move forward on that.
Good, thank you. We also, at the last meeting, we accepted a donation from Rotary for the tree fund. Is there any news on that, or where we're going with that?
Yeah, so at the previous meeting, we were given a check for $2,500 to the new tree donor fund that we've set up, which is expressly for tree planting within the city. It's open to anyone who wants to donate. Might as well plug that while we're talking about it. But it was then followed up by a further $5,000 for a total of $7,500 to plant trees. I do believe there were some stipulations about planting trees along the Chessie Trail and Clear Lake Loop Trail. And from my understanding, they would like to do some kind of ornamental tree, that would add some beauty to the city parks. So we're working to coordinate on that currently.
And who was the second grant from?
It wasn't a grant, it was a donation, and that one was also from the Rotary Club. From my understanding, there was a miscommunication on how much money or to what project it was going to, and Fonda actually just found out previously to, I think it was the last city council meeting, and I think Lauren announced it at the previous city council meeting.
I got a phone call about an hour before the meeting.
Yeah, there you go.
Saying, hey, surprise, you guys are gonna get an extra $5,000.
So that was dedicated to the Fox Park area, the Loop Trail.
Yep.
So, and both are similar in that we're looking to spend the funds for some kind of ornamental trees along the Chessie Trail and then the Fox Loop Trail. Okay. Is there anything else from old business that anybody feels we should talk about? Or that we...
Well, since Fonda just showed up, maybe she would like to talk about it. I don't know. We were just talking about the Rotary donation. And essentially, I just filled them in that there was another $5,000 that was allocated from you guys to beautification along the Clear Lake Loop and Chessie Trail. We said ornamental, but to be specific, probably some kind of native ornamental species, just because that's what our tree planting list includes. So.
Right, and I think the only thing that Rotary really asked for is something that flowers and looks pretty, because they want it to enhance the walk. That's really all they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they're very, very pleased that the money finally got to the right spot.
Yeah, we're also very excited. I
Yes.
think it's going to be a good project.
We're very pleased, and I think with the guidance of our forester, we'll be able to choose some
Yeah.
really appropriate trees for that purpose.
Well, and to that effect, we talked about it before the meeting a little bit, but essentially, the way it'll go is the city will pay for our forester to come up with a planting plan, and then I'll bring that planting plan to you guys for approval, and then we'll get it planted, so.
So will we be targeting probably fall for that, for those
It'll-
trees, or the best time, I guess?
It depends on the species, I'm sure. So, you know, if there's species that would allow for a fall planting, I'm sure we could get that done. If not, then it'll probably be a spring planting then, so.
Yeah, and I really think that at some point in the future, when it's done, like maybe having an event along that section would be something that Rotary would be open to participating in.
Yeah, I think it would be really useful. You know, they're doing us a really great service, and
What about like a little, like a plaque that you kind of like put in the ground?
On a chair.
Yeah, I think there's other plaques around that do that for Rotary and Kiwanis and other civic organizations that sponsor things. So it would just be a matter of getting the official logo that the club uses on
Ye-
there. But again.
it wouldn't be outside of the question. I mean, even, you know, like a park bench with the Rotary Club logo on it saying, hey, this section of beautification was for LaPorte by the Rotary Club or something to that effect. Yeah, we could definitely work with them on that.
That's a good idea, we can work on that, so.
It's very nice that you're on both, so that we have a good line of
Take
communication.
advantage of it.
You can middleman for us.
I will communicate that the next meeting I go to.
Yeah, there you go.
Is there anything else we need to talk about in old business?
Wanted to bring up the website. So last week we had Jess from the city's communications department. She talked to us about the website and what we, I guess, can do or cannot do with our website and how the process should work. We have a copy for the website. I didn't know if anybody else had a chance to read it and if we wanted to push that up through Tucker to go to Jess.
We should keep moving forward so we can get our documents up there. Hopefully, we're getting on the road to that, so that is one of the things we need to, probably between now and the next meeting, maybe we can make that happen.
Task everyone with that.
Yeah, if you guys would be willing to review it by the end of the week, I can try to get it updated by the end of the week or whenever I get an email from everyone saying it looks good to them or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that on the Discord server?
It is.
Okay. So yeah, if you guys could get on the Discord and just take a look at it and give it a thumbs up.
And I guess the other thing, it's kind of old business, new business, is our climate action plan is going to be completed, I believe.
Yeah, so, Nick and I discussed it today. I think everything's good on our end on that. We'll see what goes on with it. You know, it's gonna be kind of integral to a lot of the stuff, especially with that solar grant we talked about earlier, is how we're gonna measure some of our outputs. That solar grant's gonna help cover some of the, utility usage or electric usage at the water departments at both, stations, as well as, which I wasn't aware of. I guess we're also putting in small fields at plant 1 and plant 2. So that's gonna hopefully create some resiliency in that and allow us to offset some of our utility usage there. And that climate action plan is kind of integral to a lot of that. So, yeah, moving forward, it's gonna be an important document for us. So I will keep you guys in the loop as far as if there's anything that we need to do commission-wise for it, specifically towards adopting it once it's finalized and everything like that, so.
Well, I think at the last meeting or two, we've been talking about kind of reviewing this, and I do believe most of the things we're been working on fit within it, but we need to, I think, keep an eye on this plan because it does a lot of good work done by our intern to put that together.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good way to measure our movement forward as well.
Do you know whether he's going to be the one doing the completion, or is there somebody else that's going to be
I am unaware at this time.
not aware? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So under,
Todd, before you go on,
Yes.
was there anything you had in mind for the commission to do with the plan?
no, I just, to get more familiar with it, just because it's really a pretty good document, and just kind of, we can't do everything that's in there. I think just kind of figure, to focus in on what items that we think people, that we can accomplish, that we can keep steering it in the direction of this, but it is for sustainability, so, underwater, there's a lot of topics, under power use, there's a lot of topics.
I think to be more effective, if we wanted to break it up and everybody take a section, we could lead on. So like, you would take the power section, obviously.
Mm.
I mean, water.
I did look it over for, there's like 9 major focus areas, and so I think that's a good idea. I think as we dive in a little deeper, that maybe we'll try to assign some specificity to what each of us does, but every idea is worth considering, so I guess as a group, we'll do this, but don't give up on coming up with new ideas, so.
So, last meeting, was it last meeting? Sorry, there's been a lot of meetings, but last meeting, right, we signed the agreement to extend, to get us to a final.
To get
Yes.
this completed, yes.
Right, so when we get it completed, then it has to be accepted by the city as a
City
final,
council,
final
yes.
plan, right?
As like a steering document or whatever, yeah, like,
Right.
I don't know exactly what you would call it, but yes, I do believe so.
Would our next step then to be review the draft to see if there's anything that we want to have added or removed, rather than, like assigning a section?
Right,
Since we're still in draft status,
right.
like now is our opportunity, like if we see something in there that we just like know is not achievable, or there's a gap, something that is really, we think is really important, but it just like didn't get
Right.
sufficient attention, maybe that's the next step?
I agree with you. I think that's a great idea. I think going over the document, if, when you guys have some time to look at it and read through it, if you see any deficiencies where you'd like them to, further expand upon, that would be a great suggestion. Or if there's something in there you're saying, yeah, that's not gonna happen, there's not even a point in us trying to hold ourselves to that standard. I think that's a good idea, Fonda.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel like some years of experience with strategic plans or plans, like you want to set goals that are, you want to have a high standard, but you also want to be sure that it has things that keep you moving forward and you can accomplish within a specific time frame, right?
Very, very much so, because we're not blessed with a huge budget or anything, and some of these we're dependent on whatever grants we get or whatever resources we have. And so I think once it's done, then we'll have to have focus areas that are realistic and can fit within a time frame, because we're not gonna be able to, this is pretty,
There's
pretty
some-
advanced plan, there's,
Yeah, that's an advanced plan. I mean,
and
this is like a 20-year plan.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So
Well, and even if there's policy goals that we can start to further through Lauren to the city council, like that's another area that we can start to look at through the document, as a steering committee, I guess is a good way to think about it, or commission, our job is to start to look at, hey, what can we suggest city council votes on, or what is our heads or tails either way, and I think this document probably has some good starts in that direction. I'll be honest, I'm not as familiar as I would like to be with it. I've only read it, briefly when I first came in, and so I probably need to get up to date on everything on there as well. But I agree. I think the next step for us is to just look at the document and say, hey, I think when it comes to water wellhead protection is something that we should look, well, this is a climate action, so that's not really what it's about. But, here's a gap where we're missing, and here's how we can focus on that more, or we would like this expanded on. I think that's a great idea. So.
good comments, thank you. In new business, does anybody got anything? Tucker, I think you have a couple items to bring up in new business?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've been discussing recently, the city, a few years back through a company called ChargePoint, I do believe, we installed, I want to say, I'm aware of at least 3, but there may be more EV charging stations. I know there's one at the water department currently at Lake Street. There's one at the 618 Plaza, and I do believe there's one at the Civic Auditorium as well. We've been getting mixed reports on whether or not they're not working properly. And I was tasked with asking the Sustainability Commission if you guys would be willing to kind of take the lead on making sure we can get those working and maybe expanding the network, or giving us proposals of possible expansion. I don't know, anything to that effect. I don't have a SOW essentially saying this is what you guys would be responsible for or anything like that, but, you know, the city, we don't have an asset management team that's handling this currently. And so we were hoping that maybe you guys would be willing to take it on in some of your free time and see if it's something we can fix rather easily, or, you know, what kind of money we need to push to get these charging stations fixed. Because they're a public good. I think currently they are free to the public to use, and if people plug in, the city ends up footing the bill on them anyways. So,
So is there a dashboard or some sort of reporting software that you can get information about them?
there was, but from my understanding, ChargePoint did essentially as a part of the grant that we got them through, and I wasn't here at the time, so I'm not completely aware of everything. But from my understanding, ChargePoint through a grant installed these, and then once the grant was finalized, ChargePoint pushed out a large update that we would have had to pay a certain amount of money to update our system with, and the city decided not to spend the money on that large update that came out. And so from my understanding, they are essentially dumb chargers. So we do get a bill at the end of the month as to how much money, but we do not have the like dashboard to be able to monitor how many charges occur at each station and all that stuff anymore. From my understanding, it's now just essentially just a outlet that people can plug their cars into.
Well, I think taking on the role
Yeah,
of supervising, I guess we'll use the word, of those things.
Yeah.
Sure, we'll try.
Mhm.
We don't have funds, and I'm not sure about our expertise, but if it needs a push by us to make something happen with them, I think that would fit.
I think that's all they were asking really, is just for you guys to look into it.
Yeah. So you said the city pays the electric on that?
Yeah,
So is that billed separately, or does it all come on one giant NIPSCO LaPorte City?
so it's
Because I
pretty,
know sometimes like your parking lot lights are on a separate bill from NIPSCO, so.
Yeah. it's kind of confusing. So, all of our facilities are billed separately.
Mhm.
And I don't know enough about this to speak to it honestly, but, from my little bit of experience with it, from my understanding, water pays for water stuff for the most part, parks pays for park stuff for the most part. And we do get separate bills for all of our facilities, and, NIPSCO has that all broken up usually by address, but some bills have multiple addresses on a single bill just because that's how the funding works for it. I don't know whether these charging stations are considered their own access points or if they are included in the larger bill at whatever facility they're included on. So if the 618 Plaza charging station is on the 618 Plaza bill and the water department one is on the water department bill and Civic on Parks bill or whatever, you know, I actually don't know that. But you know, as I am as much of a member of the Sustainability Commission as anyone else, I can start to dig into that for you guys and see if I can get more information.
Okay, so the locations are the water department, the Civic, 618 Plaza, transport, and,
I'm only aware of the three, like I mentioned. I actually don't
Okay.
know how many we have. Again, I can look into that
so
though,
water department, Civic, and 618.
for sure. And for some reason, I wanted to say that we may have donated one to the library too.
It was discussed,
Okay,
but we have like the possibility of connecting one, but we
Yeah.
didn't, because all of that happened during the pandemic and things got,
out of hand,
yeah, lost in the shuffle.
understandably so.
What was the last location? Water Department, Civic, and
618 Plaza.
I
Which-
think that's a dual one, isn't it? It's the same as the one on our building.
Yeah, it's the same as the one in our building, and I do believe the one at the Civic is also the same as well. They're all, I think they were manufactured by a manufacturer named ChargePoint, if I'm correct on that.
Are they looking for manufacturers, you know, the or the cost of it, different companies to install? Are they looking for that stuff too, that kind of information?
I don't know to what extent we're looking yet. If we are talking expansion, I know that we are looking at expanding our EV charging facilities in the future. So if that's information that you guys would be willing to provide, that would be awesome. I mean, as much as you, essentially, you know, as much as you guys want to put into it, you can, you know? Along with that, the solar grant we had talked about previously, you know, a fleet charging portion of that is also included. So, you know, if you guys could give us more information on that stuff, it would help make our decisions easier in the future as well. And I know Ty as a member of the Sustainability Commission, you know, will probably be a big part of that as well.
Yeah,
So,
he might be helpful with that. It would think that these would be connected to something, so you would get utilization data.
yeah, I mean, they are connected to a meter as of
Right.
right now. They have smart charging or smart charging, I don't know if that's the exact word for it or not, capabilities. So when we first installed them, we did have the ability to monitor how many charges were going on, and it gave us a lot of metrics. But since we did not go through that software update, from my understanding, they've just reverted essentially to access points.
Well, I think it's challenging. They put the one at the water department building because they didn't have another location for it at the time, and it was proposed to be moved. I don't think it's in a very good location for utilization.
Yeah,
I
I think it's actually one of our more used ones.
And so I think we should look forward to those being like places
Yep.
like Newport Landing somewhere,
Yeah,
park facility somewhere, I'm not sure, but
I mean-
easier to get to. But someone has used ours, you know, fairly regularly at the,
yeah, from my time at the water department, it seemed that doctors and surgeons at the hospital, you know, it's a very easy walk to get to the hospital from the water department, and they're more likely to drive EVs maybe, I don't know.
now we know about these. Do we have any information on, there are other ones installed not by the city around town? I know there's a lot of Tesla ones over in Michigan City at the shopping area.
To my knowledge, we do not have any other EV charging points within the city other than privately owned ones that we may not be aware of.
Homes or whatever, okay.
Yeah.
So, it looks like they do operate though in, Michigan City. It doesn't, you know, I'm just doing a quick, like, Michigan City, Chesterton, Valparaiso, they all have charge point, stations. But again, it really doesn't say who, I mean, that, it could be at a gas station and it's a charge point, so it doesn't,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily the municipality that's using it, but.
Yeah, and as far as expansions or maybe moving the one at the water department, I know that it's been talked about recently about moving. I mean, if you guys came up with good locations where you thought they would be suitable, we can always pursue different grants or anything that might help us in that regard as well. So,
The car dealerships might even help pay for some of those.
yeah, you would think, I mean,
They start selling their electric cars.
well, yeah, I mean, you would think that electric vehicle companies in general, especially ones that have,
Want to promote it.
yeah, supercharging stations maybe, quote unquote, that they would be looking to expand their networks into municipalities that are willing to accept them, so.
Do we need to take a vote for the commission to accept or not accept the role as
Do we have enough members to vote on that?
coordination? I guess we're looking to be a coordinator on these charge stations as much as anything, since we don't have funding.
I mean, how much responsibility are you really accepting, I guess, is also kind of the question, right? It's more just an advisory thing, I think, so I don't know if you would need to take a vote or not, honestly.
Well, we'll get an opinion on that, but I think having at least a supervisory role or some kind of a
Yeah.
role where we can disseminate information to people where charge stations are, and I think that's probably something we can definitely do, is put together some, you know, help
Informational
encourage the
package.
mapping of these things and the knowledge of where they're at, so.
Yeah.
Publicity, maybe, so.
No, I don't think that's a bad idea at all.
Tucker, you're our star tonight, so you had mentioned something else about involvement of the schools with our commission, so would you like to
Yes.
speak to that?
So another point that was brought up today, from my understanding, at the beginning of the commission, there was initially a position created potentially for a student sustainability liaison or something to that effect with the school corporation. I don't know what the exact intention was, but I would assume it was something to the effect of, you know, someone who intends to pursue an environmentally related career, sustainability related career, or who is sustainable minded, I guess is a good way to say it. It would just be a way to incorporate, you know, the youth into our decision-making process, and I don't think it would be a voting position, but it would be someone who maybe could bring that perspective that we don't have here, you know? And so I was asked to reach
I
out to
feel
the
like
school
you're calling us
corporation.
old.
What?
You're calling us old.
Yeah, I am a little bit.
I'm hip. I'm with it.
Yeah. I think I am the youngest member here, so, just saying. But I was asked to reach out to the school corporation about it. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. And then, you know, moving forward, we'd be looking for some kind of communication between you guys probably and the school corporation as we move forward on how to select someone, or if they have a way of a club for this sort of thing, and maybe their president would be the de facto liaison. I don't know exactly know how to do that. So more than anything, I just wanted to bring it to your awareness and see if you guys had any thoughts on it.
Funny you bring it up. A couple weeks ago, someone approached me, and he used to be at the high school and on the a couple of classes and commissions over at the high school. And he was assigned to our commission. He said, I can't remember his name,
Okay.
but I'm going to get it and try to reach out to him.
Okay.
And I remember he offered up. He's like, "You guys still have any volunteers doing that?" And he was interested in still sitting in. And he's out of high school. He just graduated, but
Yeah.
might have some insight.
Yeah, and this might, sorry, I don't want to change the subject, but this is kind of along the same lines of asking for more volunteers in that regard. As we increase our responsibility load, it was also brought up maybe expanding the commission in size too. Maybe we can talk about that after this part.
Yes, I think that the idea of someone from the high school involved is a good idea. We've worked with Mr. Ruff at the high school before on, you know, Board of Works being held there, things, or having some of our meetings, our site review meeting we've had there. So I think it's a good it's a good idea to have somebody involved, because that's potentially future Sustainability Commission members, or somebody that's gonna go out and take what they learn and make a difference. So I think that's a good idea. So, Jeff, you said, well, it's somebody currently in the high school, I think is what we're,
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we're focused on.
Let somebody in it.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but, I mean, if they could give information as to how they got in contact in the first place, if you could contact them again, that would be awesome.
sure.
The high school will know what commission, you know,
Yeah,
they should know which commission they had helping us out, and you would think they would have some kind of documentation of it,
yeah.
maybe.
Tom's feelings talking.
So,
I can give them a call.
Okay, so the requirement is for the commission that it's a LaPorte Community School Corporation student.
I don't know, actually. It might be in our charting documents. I don't know if it is or not. I was not here when we first started, so I'll be honest with you, I don't know that. I mean, does anyone have an issue with it being someone outside of the LaPorte Community Schools?
No? Probably be better if they were in.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think appropriately, it would be better for somebody from LaPorte High School.
In the
you know,
community.
With this community, if there's another community that has a Sustainability Commission, they could,
Yeah, I mean, in theory, yeah, it would make most sense, I think, from LaPorte, but
yes.
I don't know if there's any restriction against it not being someone from LaPorte, I guess.
Right, on our group, our membership, no more than one appointment may be citizens who live out the city, but that's just for the formal commission.
Yeah.
So, didn't see anything in here about, you know, a youth member or anything like that, but it never hurts if somebody wants to get involved in this with us, so.
Yeah,
if we had other youth members that wanted to join from like Westville or South Central, could we have multiple?
Well, that's why I'm asking the question, because I know on some commissions that are official
Yeah.
commissions of the city, there are limitations
Right.
as to where your residency is. So if it needs to be a LaPorte School Corporation student, that doesn't exclude students who live out in the county, because county students go to LaPorte High School.
Right.
So, that could happen. But I'm just wondering, for the sake of, you know, like, maybe what we do is contact their career and their CTE coordinator, and we sort of give guidelines about an official pathway. That way it becomes a part of their sort of curriculum path for that student. And, you know, it's more of a formal commitment to their experiential learning. And that's not really hard to do, it's just like getting that set up, get the information to the right teachers, and then the students have to maybe like in some way apply, because it's just one spot.
Right.
It's just one spot if
Mhm.
they're to be a part of the commission. So, if you want, I can reach out because I'm part of the LEAP Workforce Task Force, and that's really what they're sort of focusing on right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you feel comfortable doing so, as long as everyone else is comfortable with it, I don't.
I have a meeting tomorrow morning, so.
Do you have any, you obviously talked to somebody about that.
Honestly, it was a conversation that Nick and
Okay.
I had together,
So-
and after that point in time, his suggestion was to reach out to the school board about it, but, you know, I think Fonda's sounds a lot more official.
Yeah,
It sounds like
think
she kind of
it
knows what
sounds
she's
like a-
doing there.
Like a good
so.
idea, because if you're going to be meeting with these
Sounds
people,
quicker, too.
it's
Yeah.
a good thing to bring up.
So,
So,
when you were talking with
Stuff
Nick,
they're
did he
focusing on.
specify LaPorte Community Schools? Created
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I would say that it was probably, but that's, I mean, again, that's something I would think that we could probably determine, since it's not in our bylaws already, it's something we could determine here via a vote too, if we wanted to just say LaPorte Community Schools. I mean, I don't see a problem with allowing other community school organizations to send a kid here to learn about what we do, but for this program in particular, it makes sense to do LaPorte Community Schools because they have the most access. We wouldn't have to worry so much about, you know, someone coming and going, and like you said, it's more of an official, they would apply and it would be a part of their experiential learning. I mean, that makes sense to me. So, yeah, I mean, I would definitely like to promote that if anyone wants to come here and learn, they can, you know, if we can teach them anything.
well, since it is the Port Indiana Climate Action Plan,
Yeah.
it's most appropriate to me that it'd be somebody from our school corporation. So Fonda, if you want to broach that tomorrow, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'll talk to them.
Thank you.
All right, and just to clarify, Fonda, you're reaching out to somebody, I didn't,
The Workforce Task Force Committee.
Workforce Task Force. Okay, Jeff, you were gonna reach out to somebody, are you still gonna do that?
I'm gonna try to get in hold of a person who contacted me that was on our commission from the high school when we first started a couple years ago.
Yeah,
So
I would
see-
love to know how that occurred
Yeah.
previously.
And the high school might already have their guidelines in place. They probably, I'm sure they already have it. You know, if they already had we already had somebody on the commission from them.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's useful to know how it was done previously too. I don't see that being an issue.
Cool, thank you.
Anything else to bring up in our new business section here? I would say, you know, we obviously, as a commission, we are very interested in all of the aspects of our sustainability, and one of them, of course, one of our assets is the lakes, so I just wanted to ask Jeff if he has anything to tell us about what's going on with the lakes and the treatment of the lakes.
Well, as far as the lakes are going, aquatic weed control, they'll be out, should be out pretty soon. If they're not out this week, they'll be out next week, checking the lakes to see how the weeds are progressing. The milfoil, which we'll be treating for, and hopefully there won't be any stony wart on there, because that'll be a lot more costly for us. And then shortly thereafter, they'll get back to us, the biologists, with what they have and how much they want treated, whether it's gonna be 40 acres or 60 acres, or whatever they come up with number-wise. And then we'll know exactly what we're looking at cost-wise.
So no treatment has occurred yet this year, and
No, and then once we treat it, once we treat the lake, then residents will be able to get private permits to treat in front of their areas, but they can't treat to 21 days after we have officially treated. And the DNR regulates all of that with permits and everything, so it's pretty closely watched.
then you guys have been through that frequently, so that
Oh,
you-
yes.
you're-
So, yeah, we're moving forward pretty good with it, and within the next couple of weeks, I'll know where we're looking at with cost-wise, whether it's gonna cost us $30,000 or $50,000. And that's why our memberships are important, to help us pay for that, keep these lakes clean.
I know that another issue, of course, is lake level.
It's very high right now.
That's what I've
Yeah.
been told, but I suspect they've got Jerry Jackson heavily involved in when, and I think it's one of those situations where we can't add it back, so you have to be really careful about when you take it out.
Yeah, when they open it up to lower it down, we have to have permission from the Kankakee River, and there's a process it has to go through that Jerry takes care of, and he has that down to a science. And the lake's pretty high right now, and the levels, from what I've heard, are gonna keep it where it's at right now, so.
Okay, just thought that was worth looking into.
To both of those points, first to the lake level, we did speak about it just offhandedly the other day, and from my understanding, we've been having extra seasonal rains essentially this last part of the year, and by now we usually stop draining, but because of these extra rains, the siphon's been running pretty much nonstop.
Okay,
But he said that he does plan to slow that down because, like you said, we don't get it back, you know, and evaporation will occur eventually. So, and then to the other point of it, Jeff, we're gonna get you in the July mailer to make sure that we can get the information out for everyone to know how important the Lake Association is and how they can, you know, be a part of that.
The process and
yeah.
information, and then go onto our website and find more information, or contact me, either way.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to make sure that we do that for you. So, I did not forget about your email. I will get back to you on it.
Is the Lake Association strictly donation-based?
Yes. Well, we put in with DNR grants for Lear grants. We have someone who writes the grant for Lear grant, and that money comes from boat registrations, fishing licenses, hunting licenses, goes to the state, and the state takes an application for grants, and they divvy that around. But there's a maximum amount that they can give each community, and so we've been lucky enough, they've been giving us the max that we've been able to get, so.
Yeah.
excellent. Doubling back a little bit on the,
What's the website?
Sorry, before you go on.
go ahead.
Jeff, the Lake Association, when it treats for milfoil or whatever, is that only Pine Lake, or does it do Stone?
Pine and Stone Lake we treat.
Okay,
We take care of Pine and Stone, and then, so we'll treat twice a year. It'll be coming now in the spring, the end of spring, and then we'll treat again in the fall, which will do the same process again, check everything, the weeds, see where they're more aggressive at, and then they'll treat then also. Instead of the stony wort that's on a lot of the other lakes is very aggressive, and you almost have to treat probably 4 times a year then. And then we'll be talking a lot of money, big money.
got it. Thank you.
And when you guys do your survey, do you guys check out like the Hennessy Wetland or Lily Lake at all? I know that they're all connected via the channels or whatever, so.
They mainly, I know Jerry keeps an eye on that, and then, you know, after they dredged out some of it, they've been watching everything over there. But we mainly do the biologists, and then they do their raking, so they call it,
Yeah.
of Stone and Pine Lake.
Okay, I was just curious.
Do they, when they treat it, just to get a little more familiar, is it present only in the shallows around the edges of the lakes and everything, or is this problem?
It's depends where it's diverse, where it's coming in that much. Our lake is so clear, and it warms up so fast, so the weeds, they just grow so fast.
Okay,
And then, so they'll go, what they do is they check the roots to see where the roots are growing the most, and that's where they'll treat those areas, because that'll be the trouble areas as the summer comes, so.
That makes sense.
does anybody else have anything to add to our new business?
No, but I think I interrupted you. You
No, it's
had one other
okay,
thing?
it was kind of redundant, so.
Okay.
Just want to try to get ourselves set for the next couple months, what we can focus on. Of course, the tree planting thing is going to be coming up.
Yeah, should I do an update on where we're at with everything as far as tree grant goes?
Yes, that would be helpful, since we've absorbed that role.
Yeah, so update on the tree grant. We have finished all of so we had to update the budget due to some oversights on my part for our tree crew. So the previous grant that created our tree crew as a part of the street department was a grant through the Healthcare Foundation, now the Health Foundation of LaPorte. And that actually helped pay their salaries, and I did not realize that a portion of our salaries were derived from that. So to make sure that we had budget to make sure we could continue with the tree crew, I had to divert some of our funding from cutting trees to paying our tree crew employees. It wasn't a significant portion, but it was a portion nonetheless, and I took it from cutting trees because it makes sense that our tree crew is able to do the cutting and pruning anyways, so, you know, it's kind of in line with one another anyways. So to continue their capabilities, we had to divert funds. We got that approved today. We are working to complete some of our questionnaires, and then we will do April's reimbursements, hopefully before the end of the day tomorrow. So that'll reimburse our tree crew work for April, and then we'll work on getting May's reimbursements done a little bit sooner in the month. It's just due to the volume of projects we have currently, the tree grant stuff has been a little slower than I would have liked. But as far as that goes, we currently, our contracted arborist, Great Lakes Tree Services, is out resurveying our tree catalog or our tree inventory. So you'll see cars driving around, checking out trees, doing measurements. Once that's finished, we will then use their inventory to come up with a proper tree maintenance program. So that'll be cutting of critical trees and high-risk trees, and then replanting trees as well. So we have 5,000 something trees in the inventory currently. They've already indicated that there's probably about 4,000 planting spaces available across the city. Due to the way the funding works, we can only focus on 3 qualified census tracts, so the planting and cutting will be focused in those areas. But those are the areas where we have the worst trees, or oldest trees, I should say. I shouldn't say worst, because some of them are still very beautiful and very healthy trees. So, yeah, it goes, and once there's any major developments, I'll make sure to keep you guys posted on all of that. But we're hoping to get done with the inventory by the end of July, so we can start working on the RFQ for cutting and planting.
Will the public be able to see, like, where things are being replanted and taken down?
My goal is
on
to
the
make that,
website?
yeah, my goal is to make that all available to the public. We do currently accept tree request forms through our online permitting portal. That tree request form has a section for planting by the city as well as cutting or pruning by the city. And I do believe we allow for cutting and pruning by contracted arborist or contracted tree services as well through there. We're working on reworking that form to cover a large suite of questions that we've received recently, specifically about people planting their own trees. I mean, we would like to promote people taking care of the trees in their own yards, and so part of that is if they're willing to pay for the tree, you know, we'll have our arborists come out for free and take a look at it and tell you what species would fit best there, you know, or maybe help you source that tree from a local nursery or something to that effect. So we're working through that currently. Just part of the process, you know.
Well, since we've absorbed that tree commission role,
Yeah.
it would be helpful, maybe sometime even bring a couple samples, some of the paper that we deal with, like your permission to cut and all that, because we're talking about all the trees and the city tree lawns, and also parks and city facilities.
Yeah. Oh, so no, we're only focused on street trees with this grant.
Okay, but I mean, the tree commission was
Yeah, it was mostly focused on street trees. Yes, and you know, as I start to come up with versions of that document, I would love for you guys to approve them. Honestly, it would take some load off my shoulders when it comes to that. So I'll make sure to. And as we also get the planting and cutting plans together, I'd like for you guys to be able to look over those and give me your thoughts on those as well. You know, so.
You mentioned the inventory you were hoping or tentatively scheduled to be completed by end of July, and then an RFQ process would start after that. What's the RFQ process for?
So that process would be for the cutting and, you know, so after the inventory's finished, a planting and removal plan will be generated, and that RFQ, well, first, I guess, since you guys do have that tree commission base, you guys would probably approve the planting and removal programs, and then from there, we would put it out for request for quote on what it would cost for, and we're still working through this with Phil, our contracted arborist, on if it might actually be an RFP. I don't know the difference between all of the acronyms, I'll be honest, so I apologize if I misspeak. But
3 letters, just throw them out.
yeah, exactly. So the way it would work is, you know, for trees of a certain caliber size that were above the ability for the tree department crew to cut, or if they were in contact with, you know, high voltage electric or something like that. The trees that we're incapable of handling ourselves is mainly what we're focused on with that, and we would put that out for bid. And planting, obviously, we would have to put out for bid for contractors to come and plant trees as well, because we just don't have the capability to do it in-house. So,
now the $1 million grant
yes.
that you received, does that require the use of contractors to do the work, or does it allow?
It does not.
So the funding can be done through our tree cutting crew?
Yeah, so part of the funding is allocated to our internal crew. I would say a third of all of the funding is going to bolstering our ability. So part of that is funding for their salaries, part of that is for improving their equipment, and then part of that is improving our inventory and Actually, we're using that money to do an enterprise GIS upgrade, something we've been talking about for a long time, which will benefit the tree crew exponentially, as well as, coordinating projects between multiple departments. So that's a big part of all of it. And then roughly a third of that remaining 2/3 goes to planting trees, and the other 2/3 is going to cutting trees, essentially.
Okay.
So,
That should do a lot of good.
yeah, I mean, the goal is to make it sustainable. So, we're never going to be able to fund a tree crew to the extent that we need, probably. But this money, if it gets us to a point where they can at least maintain a good pruning program and cutting program, I think that's really what we're focused on.
Thank you. Anything else anybody has to add? Public comment? I don't think we have anything there.
Real quick, Tucker, the arborists that are cutting down people's trees and stuff, I know they have to get permits and stuff.
We do, so all tree work for city trees should go through this tree request form under the engineering department on our online permitting portal. We are still working out how, if a homeowner is capable of pruning their own tree, we're working with Phil on how to do that language properly and everything like that, because at the end of the day,
It's hard to keep track of all of them.
Yeah,
Just a
it's
couple doors
it's a
down
lot.
from me, they just took down a 40-foot maple tree. It was just
Yeah.
huge, and I know the owners paid for it themselves,
yeah,
but those people can put in for possibly replacements.
yeah, they definitely can put in for replacement using that form as well. So, we want.
If they wanted
They are outside of the area that the grant will cover, probably. I will put a map out for that eventually as well. But
On the website.
that's what our donation fund is for. So that, back to plugging the donation fund, if businesses or individuals are willing to donate money to plant trees, people outside of the area that was determined as environmentally disadvantaged would be able to plant trees. We'll be able to plant trees in those areas, so,
Possibly.
yeah.
All right, we're approaching 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I think we've,
Does anybody have any other announcements or any information they'd like to share? And we don't have any public comment, so do we have a motion to adjourn?
A motion?
I'll second.
Zach, seconded by Jeff, then meeting's adjourned.
I think you're supposed to gavel.
Thank you.